feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Brian Giles with Brian Giles MTG. And hoo-ha, we're back with more Aetherdrift spoilers. Starting our list off for this video, we have something that was talked about in the Mark Rosewater spoilers. This is March of the World Ooze. Beefy 3 green and 3 for an enchantment that reads, creatures you control have power and toughness 6/6 and are oozes in addition to their other types. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn, you create a 3/3 green elephant creature token. That's just nasty. So you got a 3/3 elephant that turns into a 6/6 ooze. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if it's not their turn. Ooh-haw. Ooze deck, anyone? Ivan Ooze. Next up we have Molt Tender. Green mana for a 1/1 insect druid. Tap it to mill a card. Or tap it to exile a card from a graveyard to add 1 mana of any color. Okay. Good for your graveyard strategies. Next up, we have another nasty vehicle in Possession Engine. So, 2 blue and 3 for a 5/5 artifact vehicle. When it enters, gain control target creature and opponent controls for as long as you control this vehicle. That creature can attack or block for as long as you control this vehicle. Crew it for 3. Ew. That's an interesting little thing. Kind of like a blue removal. You can't attack or block, but it can still crew this vehicle. So you can use it to crew this vehicle and do other, crew other stuff. And that's nasty. Next up we have Marshall's Path Cruiser. Now it's 3 mana for a 6/5 vehicle. When it enters, search your library for basic land card revealed, put it in your hand and shuffle. That's not so bad. 3 mana for a 6/5 isn't bad. Has an exhaust of Wooburg, which is white, blue, black, red, green. To put this vehicle becomes an artifact creature and put 2+1/+1 counters on it. Okay, but it has a beefy crew cost of 5. That's, I don't know if it's worth it. I mean, it's worth it just for the land to search. But in a 5-color deck, you might find a place. We have Cloudspire Captain. A white and 2 for a 2/3 human pilot with mounts of vehicles you control get +1/+1. This creature saddles mounts and cruise vehicles as though its power were 2 greater, so it can do stuff with power of 4. So hoo-ha. Spot Cycle Scouter. So white and 1 for a 3/2 vehicle with Inner Scry 2. Crew it for 1. Quick little vehicle. Hoo-ha. We got Wreck Remover, which is 4 mana for a 3/4 artifact creature construct. When this creature enters or attacks, exile to 1 target card from a graveyard, gain a life, and cycle it for 2. Okay. Next up, we have some cards from the Commander deck. This is from the Energy Commander deck, and this is an absolutely interesting card. 6 mana for an artifact that reads, whenever you cast a spell, you get an amount of energy equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Tap it and pay 50 energy to draw 7 cards, and you can cast any number of spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Well, 50 is a lot to get. I mean, even if you're casting high mana spells, it's still going to take you a bit to get to 50. Next up, we have Adaptive Omni Tool, which is 2 mana for artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Well, okay, there's lots of artifacts in this set. Whenever equipped creature attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library and reveal an artifact card from among them. Put it into your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order, and equip it for 3. Okay, so it artifact hunts. Next up is another crazy artifact, an Aetheric Amplifier. 3 mana for an artifact that reads, tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Okay, it's a mana rock. Pay 4 generic, tap it, choose 1, activate only as a sorcery. Either double the amount of each kind of counter on target permanent, or double the number of each kind of counter you have, like energy counters. So while it's not hard to build up to 25, that's just five cost spells with that other thing, the Aetherflux Conduit, and you can double it up to 25. Next up, we have Nissa, World Soul Speaker. So, of course, she's a D-Sparked Planeswalker. For a green and 3, you have a 3/3 legendary elf druid with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you get 2 energy counters. Ew. You may pay 8 energy rather than pay the mana cost for permanent spells you cast. Ew. Ew. That's nasty. Combined with the other stuff we have in this deck, that's just icky. So next up we have Pima Trailblazer, a green and 2 for a 3/3 Elephant Warrior. He has Trample. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get that many energy counters. Okay, more energy. Exhaust. Pay 6 energy and put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. Then draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Okay, so yeah, well, more card draw. Then we have Rampaging Aetherhood. A green and 4 for a 4/4 Snake Hydra with Trample and Ward 2. Okay. In your upkeep, you get an amount of energy counters equal to this creature's power. Then you may pay 1 or more energies. If you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on this creature. Icky. Okay, we talked about this deck being based all around energy counters. When we were talking about the commanders for this deck, this is gonna be an interesting deck. And finally, we got Territorial Aetherkite. So, 2 red and 4 for a 6/5 cat dragon. It has flying and haste. When it enters, you get 2 energy counters. Then you may pay 1 or more energy. When you do, this creature deals that much damage to each other creature. Oh, so you can use your energy to do damage. And it gets energy when it comes into play, and it has flying and haste. Not bad for a 6/5. Good value there. I'm not unhappy with it. Next up, we have Pedal to the Metal, a card mentioned in the Rosewater spoilers. For a red and X, you get an instant that reads, target creature gets +X/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Hey, not bad. Then we have Goblin Surveyor. A red and 2 for a 3/2 Goblin Scout with Trample. And start your engines. And when you have max speed, you may pay 3 generic and exile this card from your graveyard to draw a card. Okay. Some Goblin action going on. We got Boom Scholar. This is a red, a green, and 1 for a 3/3 Goblin Advisor. Exhaust abilities of other permanents you control cost 2 generic less to activate. Okay, that's fun. Especially if you consider that one that's kind of like the Galta ability. So instead of 2 green and 10, it's now 2 green and 8. It has an exhaust ability itself of a red, a green, and 4. Creatures and vehicles you control gain trample. till end of turn and put 2+1/+1 counters on this creature. Okay. And he's another goblin. Speaking of goblins, here's Grease Wrench Goblin. A red mana for a 2/1 Goblin Artificer with an exhaust ability of a red and 2. Discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards. And put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So, hoo-ha, lots of goblins. Well, we're gonna check. Okay, we got a couple more. Unswerving Sloth. So, 2 white and 3 for a 5/5 Sloth mount. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, it gains indestructible till end of turn and untap all creatures you control. Saddle it for 4. Okay, that's decent. To victory, eventually. And we have Aether Siphon. 2 blue and 1 for an artifact to start your engines. Pay 2 generic and tap it to draw a card. When it has max speed, whenever you draw a card, each opponent mills 2 cards. Ew! Ew, that's nasty. More mill stuff. Ew. Well, that's all that I can see for right now. Certainly got some interesting cards in this set and in the commander decks. The commander deck, at least the energy one is highly energy focused. And has some really broken abilities in regards to all that. So, it's definitely a different set. It's taking this. When we first started seeing vehicles in the original Kaladesh, Avishkar, whatever you want to call it now, the original Kaladesh block, we thought that we'd get pilots and stuff, but this actually uses mounts that we got in Outlaws of Thunder Junction and vehicles that we saw first show up in the Kaladesh block, and have it in a race, and kind of like a fun little thing going on. And Commander deck is the one's energy focused, and of course we talked about the other one being kind of like a zombie focused. So this is definitely, it's interesting. I don't know how well it will be received. It's just very different from a lot of other things. I know that the land cycle is probably going to be well received because it does complete the Verge cycle we saw in Oh, what's that other set of Valgavoth? Never mind. Duskmorn. Sorry, my mind can't seem to hold on to the name of that set for whatever reason. So we got the completion of the Verge cycle from this was started in Duskmorn, which was actually very well received for dual lands. So we're at 20 minutes. We're gonna say hoo ha. We'll see you on the next video.